Hello from beautiful Portland, Oregon. I'm Jen McFarland from the Women Conquer Business podcast and Jen McFarland Consulting. And I don't know how long I'm going to be able to be on Facebook Live today because it's really hot here. It's warm. I've been working outside all day. That's why I'm wearing a t-shirt and just kind of hanging out and being grubby. I have all the windows and doors open here because it's just so nice and I just can't even get over it. But I did want to think and talk a little bit about the last two episodes because as I've been working through some business development questions that I have for my own business today, I have really been thinking a lot about some of the things I was working on that I maybe delayed working on a little bit, and then some other things that just aren't moving fast enough. And I was like, hey, wait a minute, I talked about this on the last two podcast episodes, which were about procrastination and instant gratification. And I dare you to say those two things fast, back to back, because I've tried and it didn't work out well for me. But anyway, so when we think about procrastination, one of the things that I didn't mention on the podcast episode that I've been giving a lot of thought to is the idea that when we procrastinate on something, it usually means that we're out of alignment in some way. Like on the show, I talked a lot about the emotions behind it, but I think that it's also that if we're having emotions about it and those emotions are pulling us out of wanting to execute on an important change initiative or a project or anything within our business, it's the emotion, but then it's also just the fact that something is out of alignment. Something doesn't quite feel right. And it's a good time to check your gut. But then on the flip side, and I see this all the time when I work with people on projects, it's like we wait, we do it, and then we expect an instant result for what we're working on. And that's the instant gratification piece, where we expect that as soon as we make that decision, we're going to see results. And unfortunately, that's just not how life works most of the time, and it's not how business works most of the time. But the cool thing about it is that if we put things in place, if we measure things as we implement things, and we have like, well, this is where I started and this is how things progress, then I think it dials down some of those expectations that we have around instant gratification, meaning I just put something in place and now I want to see an instant result. I just built a new website. I want all of the people to come. Well, it doesn't really work like that. You don't build a new website and then things happen immediately. You build a new website, you develop a plan for driving people to the website, you have calls to action and intriguing content, and then people come, right? And it's like that with every project within your business and within like change initiatives. That's why it's so important to communicate with the people helping you on projects so that they understand what they need to do and why the different things are important. And it kind of mitigates some of these things that cause some of the instant gratification issues that we see. And then the other part of instant gratification is managing expectations for our clients. So we might wait on something and then expect to hear from the client right away. And that doesn't really work like that either. Or our clients are used to working with large corporations, and if you're a smaller entity, then it might be more difficult for you to manage those expectations if you can't do something on the desired timeline. Or maybe they've procrastinated on what they're doing and then they need something on a much quicker timeline. They're expecting the instant gratification in terms of deliverables. So it's, to me, procrastination and instant gratification are two sides of the same coin. And we don't always think about it because, well, when we're in one state, we usually aren't in the other. When we're waiting, we aren't necessarily expecting. If we're waiting to do something, we're not exactly expecting some sort of result. But once we do something, we tend to expect that result. And so what I want to say is it's not only do we have to wait, but sometimes when we're working through change, we're not seeing exactly the result that we want on the timeline that we want. And so what that means is sometimes we give up too soon. And that takes me back to the podcast where we talk about kind of how change isn't just like going up the stairs. If only it were that simple. But no, it changes on more of a things kind of progress, and then it like takes off because it's like building a fire, right? You put the first couple of logs on, it's maybe a small small little fire. You put a few more logs on, and then it starts to build and build and build. And it's the same thing with your change initiatives. The more things that you are implementing along the way, the growth will then sprout up. And it just, that trajectory can sometimes be very explosive. So, but the key is to kind of measure so you can kind of see like this, um, the progress happening on a slow trajectory, so that you can kind of see that things are getting better. If nothing is happening, then you need to make sure that you're measuring the right thing, that maybe you need to look at something else. So a lot of these problems are very holistic and there might be some unintended consequences. So don't give up, stay the course, but measure along the way so that you know that you're not, wasting money and different things like that. So if you want to talk about it, hit me up in the comments. I'm always available on Facebook and on Facebook and Instagram. And even if you go to the podcast page at jenmcfarland.com/podcast, you can post a question there, using some audio, and I will get it and I will answer it on the show. So thank you so much. Have a beautiful Friday wherever you are, and I'll be talking to you next week. And be sure to stay tuned because on Monday's show of the podcast, I talked to Jennifer Elaine. She is a veteran who owns an insurance business here in outside of Portland, Oregon, but it's not the type that you think. She works with the Affordable Care Act and helps people get insurance that they can afford that meets all of the different requirements. And her story is really amazing, and I can't wait to share it with you on Monday morning. So please listen to Monday's podcast. Jennifer is not only has an amazing story, but she is hilarious. And yeah, have a great weekend. Thanks a lot.